Welcome to this Triangles webinar for Monday, April 8th, 2024. My name is Mintze van der Velde and I'm speaking from Geneva. Aisha, who is also in Geneva, will share with us some thoughts on triangles and the sacred geometry in Islamic art. Aisha is a successful author and a researcher in spiritual philosophy. It is a busy day today as we are also celebrating the new moon of Aries and we are having a full eclipse in a large part of the world. The monthly Triangles webinars have two major goals, both of which seek to strengthen the planetary network. First, to have a space where existing Triangles members can come together to share in a meditative visualization in support of the Triangles work and to hear reflections and share ideas about world service through the power of thought from different Triangles co-workers. And second, to introduce new people to Triangles and hopefully stimulate the formation of new Triangles. And if you are already a Triangles member, you may also want to form a new Triangle. We will begin with some introductory remarks about triangles and the use of the Great Invocation, followed by a visualization on that Great Invocation, which regular participants in this webinar are familiar with. Then we will have a talk of our guest Aisha about triangles and the sacred geometry in Islamic art, with some time for discussion. We will conclude with a Triangles webinar meditation, energizing the planetary network of triangles. Just a few words if you are new to triangles. The Triangles network is made up of individuals around the planet who come from different spiritual backgrounds and share a common belief in the powerful role that meditation, prayer, and invocation can play in the creation of a better world. The Triangles network consists of groups of 3 people who agree to link in thought every day, visualizing themselves as a triangle of light, and together invoking energies of light and goodwill. Normally we do that by sounding the Great Invocation. Each triangle is part of the global network of triangles. The lighted energies of divinity that are invoked are visualized as flowing out from each triangle, through the network of triangles, and into the world of human consciousness, thus strengthening all that is good and true and beautiful in the world. The network has been built over many decades and can be seen as a strong, well-established, potent structure in the etheric or energetic body of humanity and the planet, through which spiritual energies flow into the consciousness of humanity to touch all those hearts and minds that are open to spiritual stimulation. There's much information on the triangles on our website, www.triangles.org, about how to form a triangle, including a section where you can form such a triangle online by entering your details and inviting others to contact you to form a triangle. Today I want to share some thoughts about the Great Invocation, which we daily use in our Triangles meditation. At various places in his writings, the Tibetan urges us to use the Great Invocation in the right way, with a thorough understanding of its power and its impact. The Great Invocation, as we use it today and as used by the hierarchy itself, has been given out to the world halfway during the last century. The Tibetan tells us that it is one of the greatest of the world's prayers and is on par with the other voiced expressions of spiritual desire and intention. He compares it with the emergence of the Lord's Prayer which in the early days of Christianity was employed by a very few people. The Lord's Prayer needed recording, expression in understandable terms, and adequate translation before its widespread use became possible. That effort took centuries to accomplish. Today, with the internet and modern technology, we have all the facilities for rapid distribution, and these have all been employed on behalf of the Great Invocation. For example, on our website, you can find over 80 translations of the Great Invocation. The Great Invocation is, in reality, a great method of integration, linking through a triangle the Father, the Coming One, and humanity in one great relationship. The Great Invocation relates the will of the Father, or of Shambhala if you want, the love of the hierarchy, and the service of humanity into one great triangle of energies. This triangle will have two major results. First, the sealing of the door where evil dwells, and second, the working out of the plan of love and light through the power of God, let loose on earth through the invocation. It is no secret that over the centuries, prayers and the usual invocative appeal have been selfish in its nature and temporary in its formulation. Men and women have prayed for themselves. They have invoked divine help for those they love, or they have given a material interpretation to their basic needs. The Great Invocation, as given to us by the hierarchy, is a world prayer with no personal appeal or temporal invocative urge. It pierces through all the difficulties, doubts, and questionings, straight to the mind and the heart of the one in whom we live and move and have our being, the one who will stay with us until the end of time itself and until the last weary pilgrim has found his way home, as we are told. When putting it into one phrase, we can say that the Great Invocation voices the basic needs of mankind today, that is to say, the need for light and love, for understanding of the divine will, and for the end of evil. Developing that a little bit more, much becomes clear when looking at the key words of each of the four stanzas. The first, let light descend on earth. The second, may the Coming One return to earth. The third, that purpose guide all little human wills. And the fourth, let the plan seal the door where evil dwells. It concludes with the powerful words, that light and love and power restore the plan on earth. We can note here that the emphasis is laid upon the place of appearance and of manifestation, that is to say, the earth. In the period after the Great War, the Tibetan urged all men and women of goodwill to use the Great Invocation as much as possible, but also as good as possible. That is to say, with the deepest understanding of its meaning we can achieve in our consciousness. We are told that since then, the Great Invocation has already had tremendous effects. Yet today, in our troubled world, it would be good to continue, if not emphasize, the use of the Great Invocation as much as possible. As I said, today there is an eclipse, and it happens that in New York, at the time of the time of that eclipse is 3:28 p.m. That means right at the end of our visualization or in the middle of this webinar. And talking about the symbolism of an eclipse, there is one reference in the work of the Tibetan, which I particularly like. There he likens an eclipse to a point where the encroaching light of the soul obliterates the dim light of the personality. And within that lighted area, the disciple learns to stand. Perhaps this is something we can keep in mind during and near the end of our visualization. So now I suggest that we go into our visualization, a reflection on the great invocation. Link up in thought as a soul, as a point of love and light, with all those people throughout the world who are part of the triangle service work. Then visualize the world situation as best you can and see people everywhere glowing with a dim light, and here and there points of brighter light where men and women of spiritual intention and of loving hearts are working for their fellow human beings. Then we visualize through the creative imagination the vivid light of the spiritual kingdom streaming towards humanity and slowly merging with the light which is already in humanity. And we say the first stanza of the great invocation. From the point of light, within the mind of God, let light stream forth into human minds. Let light descend on earth. Then we ponder upon the reappearance of the coming world teacher. We realize that no matter by what name he may be called in the many world religions, he is still the same great identity. Reflect and speculate upon the possibility and the possible results of his appearance. And by doing that, we say the second stanza of the great invocation from the point of love within the heart of God. Let love stream forth into human hearts. May the coming one return to earth. Then endeavor to concentrate your fixed intention to serve and to spread love in your surroundings. And realize that insofar as can do these things, you are attempting to blend your personal will with the divine will. And we say the third stanza of the invocation from the center where the will of God is known. Let purpose guide all little human wills, the purpose which the masters know and serve. We conclude by sounding the Om, dedicating the threefold personality to the working out of the divine plan. Om. Thank you very much for participating in this service of the visualization. And now it's my pleasure to invite Aisha, who will talk on triangles and the sacred geometry in Islamic art. Aisha, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Thank you, first of all, for giving me the opportunity to talk about triangles from an Islamic perspective. In this holy month of Ramadan, which will end just now, tomorrow, after tomorrow, on the new moon period, triangles are important in all forms of spirituality. So we know that in Islam, there is no figurative representation of God and his prophets, who are sacred lights. We also know that the diffusion of light via the network of triangles is a divine service. The triangle is also a sacred tool in the sacred geometry of Islamic art. This art is based on the repetition of geometric shapes that are often in a sacred place, such as a mosque, a temple, a synagogue, or a church. According to certain religions, according to certain religions and spiritual movements, God created the world according to, because I have something on my screen. It's okay. So God created the world according to a geometric plan. Plato said that God creates geometrically, constantly, and continually. We can see now the expansion of the universe on this diagram. And that shows that why Allah, as we said in Arabic, God, is present in the Islamic artistic space via the geometric shapes which showcase all of his creation. The Islamic geometry found in mosques, the palaces of the Taj Mahal or the Alhambra in Spain, glorifies divine creation by directly linking it to the terrestrial world. And the human soul is receptive to this. We can see now the radiation of the circle or triangle. The basic geometric figures of Islamic ornamental are at the point, the circle, and the radius. Some geometric figures, like circles, sun, cross, symbolize the expansion and structure of the universe. The domed rooms evoke the sky, and the earth, relationship between the one, and furthermore, so several aesthetic principles of Islamic art are based on the relationship between the one and the many, capable of expressing the relationship between the divine unity and the complexity of creation. Indeed, looking at the circle, which spokes like the wheel of a bicycle, we will see later that the rays of a circle are at the base of circular triangles, whose rotary movement can generate energy irradiation. In this case, we can imagine that the divine light is projected from the central point of the circle towards the periphery, though the lines which form the rays of this circle. The movement of the circle then produces infinite radiation. This is one of the effects of the radiance of the circular triangles, which evoke both the evolutionary spiral rise towards the heavens and the precipitation of the divine into matter. And we can see this in this representation. On the top, there is the name of God in French, and at the bottom, this is the 10th intelligence, which is the terrestrial plan. In addition, so the dome of a Muslim palace or a mosque symbolizes the cosmic vault, the starry sky, the spiritual and divine sky. And for Muslim authors, the planets and stars represent invisible realities. Sohrawardi, a medieval philosopher, distinguished three ways of seeing the starry sky. The common man sees only an expanse of blue color, punctuated with white points, the star. And the astronomer or the astrologer studies the movement of the stars and their relationships to the zodiac, while spiritual men perceive the esoteric and invisible meaning of the sky. Rumi, which is another philosopher, speaks of the sky roof, which is the place of assembly of souls. Even Ibn Arabi, another philosopher, medieval philosopher, evokes the representation of the sun as symbolizing the relationships between creatures and the one God. The geometric symbolism of lines radiating from a central point towards the circumference of a circle evokes the unique relationship each creature has with oneness. Each creature is a kind of ray which emanates from God, so that each one has a particular and specific relationship with God. If the central point is the same for all, the rays which spring from it are as numerous as the beings coming from the light divine. And on this diagram, we see rotative triangles with overlaid levels of the universe and the divine ray connecting worlds and creatures into unity. We can see that the circle gives movement and rhythm to these triangles, which swirl from earth to sky and from sky to earth. The triangles are part of a rising spiral for the elevation of spirits towards God, as the whirling dervishes do by spinning around for hours. This circular and infinite movement explains the hypnotic magic of Islamic geometric patterns. Let's see now another geometric form in Islamic art called the muqarnas, This is the cone, which is shaped like a triangle for divine light to fall into the temple via this conical dome. Indeed, from the tip of the dome, divine light is distributed all along the walls and the columns of a mosque or a palace. Indeed, jagged sculptures resemble waterfalls poured on those who thirst for spirituality. These geometric constructions are the muqarnas. And in the next slide, thank you, we can see an example of a muqarna, which lets the light passes from the sky. It's like divine water, which is then distributed from these celestial domes to flow down the walls. This celestial water nourishes the plants and animals which adorn the walls. And the architect thus represents the Garden of Eden descended to earth. The floor, covered with carpets, equally decorated with sacred geometric patterns, is the third terrestrial plan that the faithful tread, protected by the paradise temple of God. In this study of the Alhambra, Oleg Grabar hypothesized, famous someone who studied also these geometric forms. So Oleg Grabar hypothesized that the decoration of muqarnas creates a complex play of light refractions which change during the day with the movement of the sun, which constitutes a reflective image of the sky. It is a cascading radiance which evokes an ordered and hierarchical gush of walls from the divine sun. Another example of muqarnas of the Mosque of Cordoba in Spain. So this is surmounting a square of rectangular structure with a dome requires a transitional device, and in time a distinctive solution for this, known as muqarnas, as we have seen, arose in Islamic architecture. So muqarnas are structured on tiered horizontal layers joined by flat and curved surfaces which articulate their descent and echoing the idea of spiritual light cascading from the heavens to condense as crystalline matter on earth. So they are also used in niches, for example, the niche or mirhab that marks the mosque wall facing Mecca. Furthermore, like the circle with this triangular rays, a geometric figure seen previously, the muqarnas represent the birth of the multiple from the one. Deployed around a deep center, the muqarnas illuminate the light of day and evoke the reflection of divine unity in the multiplicity of names, archetypes, and celestial worlds. Thus, Islamic architectures uses muqarnas which have channels of distribution of the divine triple energy which can be found in the daily service of the triangles. In this hierarchical activity of triangles, meditator like architectural craftsmen construct kinds of muqarnas and these spatial and three-dimensional triangle figures with mental substance. The anonymous work in Islamic architecture carried out by artisans of the ancient Muslim Brotherhood's activity is like that it's like that of the anonymous new group of observers. And this architectural work on the mental level serves to better precipitate and diffuse spiritual light on humanity, and has evolved and is done in group synergy, where the mental artisans are as anonymous as those from the lands of Islam. Well, we can see now the protective veil of the spider's web. The spider web principle also uses the geometric figure of the triangle of we can see on this diagram. In Islamic decoration, this is a radiating circle of triangles. Its projections are onto several planes from heaven to earth via concentric circles. It appears on wall mosaics that repeat endlessly. The spider web has two symbolic and spiritual functions: to protect and to hide. It is purely esoteric. We also know the motto of the planetary center of Darjeeling in India: I hide the light. And the Prophet of Islam is himself a sacred light that must be hidden to be protected. The spider web played an important role in the life of the Islamic prophet. On the way to exile towards Medina, the Prophet Muhammad took refuge in a cave. Immediately, a spider wove a web just in front of the entrance to the cave. Thus, the Quraysh people who pursued Muhammad to kill him believed that the cave was empty. According to the Sufis, the spider web functions as a woven veil of the manifested creation. But this veil reveals the divinity to those who know how to recognize it. And in Islam tradition, it is like an illusory curtain used to divert the uneducated people's eyes. The beauty perception is a spiritual faculty. So we can see on this diagram the divine unity and predestined links of many creatures resulting from this divine unity. So, but God remains united to the manifested world. Through the radiant weaving of the spider's web, each thread connects the creator to his creature, to his creature. From a cosmological point of view, the spider's web superimposes two symbols: the hierarchical levels of creation, concentric circles, and the connection to all divine worlds, lines connecting the circles in the center. The spider's web appears as a complete synthesis of creation and its relationship to God. There is therefore a sacred and powerful interdependence between the visible and invisible world. So this is a pattern created by division of circles, and on this slide, and the right, it is reproduced and multiplied on a wall of a madrasa, a Quranic school in Iran. Well, as a conclusion, through the Islamic ornamental art, God is omnipresent in the architectural space. In each mosaic of multiple colors covers all the space. God is present from floor to ceiling. For example, the blue mosque that we see now on the screen of Istanbul is made up of a dome where the divine names, the throne of God, and the heavens of the spiritual and angelic worlds are depicted. These are the celestial spheres of paradise. At the level of the octagon, there is the intermediate world of the imagination with the 8 gates of paradise and the 8 throne-bearing angels. And in the hall of the mosque, we find the earthly cosmos of humans. The believers prostrate themselves before the God's majesty and his creation. The prayer room represents the earth in a space oriented towards Mecca. And the manifested world is also represented with its 4 natural elements, woven on the prayer rugs, richly decorated with geometric animal and vegetal figures. Thus, the disciple is immersed in the temple of God, enveloped, irradiated, and protected by his creator. Traditional Islamic seeks to transport the viewer from immersion in the mundane to serene contemplation. Islamic design can be thought of as a form of visual music. The repetition and rhythm of its motifs establish an inner sense of balance and act as a visual extension of the invocatory remembrance of the divinity. We can say that the Islamic art doesn't need figure representation because it reveals God in all sacred geometry. There is no need to paint a saint, since the disciple is in direct contact with God, who is as close as possible to humans. Indeed, the Quran is the God's word with that intermediary which speaks directly to his believers. And I will end with a word from the Creator to his human creatures. This is an extract from the Quran, Surah 50, verse 16. God says, "We certainly created humans, and we know that their soul whispers to them. And we are closer to him than his jugular vein." So I thank you very much for your attention, and I will answer with pleasure to your possible questions.
Thank you very much, Aisha. If anyone has a question, you can raise your hand. We do have a few minutes, not very many, but we have some time for questions. Awaiting that people raise a hand, I want just to ask a question myself. It's about a couple of decades ago that I had the privilege of really being into one of those mausolees which you showed in Samarkand. I was able to go to Samarkand and Bukhara,
Oui.
and but that was decades ago, and I didn't know very much of Islam, neither of sacred geometry, but you could feel the impression of the beauty and the hidden energy behind those symbols. Now, my question is, probably in the higher layers of Islam, I'm thinking of Sufi circles, people will more or less know what the meaning is of this sacred geometry. How far does this go down to, let's say, ordinary people? Is this kind of knowledge, is that taught in school, that people know a little bit what is the meaning of those figures behind?
Well, unfortunately, no, people doesn't have lessons of art, geometric Islamic art, except if they study at the university. But they are in the Quran, and the sacred books about the prophet, like Hadith, etc., there is a kind of teaching of the importance of the non-figurative representation and the beauty. I can say that paradise, descriptions of paradise, etc., is very present in this decoration, this ornamental art. So to answer to your question, I think that people, Muslim people who practice, have a consciousness of this of the meaning, of the main meaning. I can say, if I don't know if my answer is clear, but
Yeah, I thank you very much. I do see and I think that summarizes your answer, a quote by Antonio Mendes. He
mhm.
says, sacred geometry works to all. Each one in his own level of consciousness resonate with it. I think that's an excellent remark to end with. I don't see any other questions or hands up, but I do see the clock running further. So I think I want to thank you once more for your very instructive and very inspiring presentation of this beautiful sacred geometry, which we are not very familiar with, but was very beautiful. And I now suggest that we conclude with our triangles webinar meditation. Triangles meditation, energizing the planetary network of triangles. We come together as a group unity on the mental plane. We identify as a soul with the world group functioning through three planetary centers, London, Geneva, and New York, as a triangle of light. We extend identification through the soul to the new group of world servers, to the hierarchy, and to the Christ, the transcendent point of synthesis at the center of every triangle, and to the triangle of energy standing behind the Christ. Finally, we identify the center of Shambhala, the center of purpose and power. Then we recognize the synthesis of three streams of cosmic energy within Shambhala, where the will of God is known, using the dedication. In the center of the will of God I stand. Naught shall deflect my will from His. I implement that will by love. I turn towards the field of service. I, the triangle divine, work out that will within the square and serve my fellow men. Then visualize a network of lighted triangles underlying the entire outer world of physical life and events. We see the network linking all triangle units and relating all points of light throughout the world. The network is also relating the world of spiritual realities, the hierarchy, to the world of experience, humanity, and acting as a channel of distribution within humanity for the spiritual energies pouring through the hierarchy. Finally, the network is transforming the planetary etheric vehicle to receive and circulate the energies of the soul and the triad, will, love, light. In the next stage, we realize that the energies of light, love, and the will to good, evoked by all triangle workers, pulsating through the planetary network of triangles, are having an inevitable effect within the three worlds, mental, emotional, and etheric, of human evolution, lifting human consciousness and helping to create the path of light for the feet of the Christ. Then we reflect on the purpose, function, and right development of the triangles network as an hierarchical activity. In the next stage, blended with the group, we stand with positive intent as a station of radiant light within the network of light and goodwill. And we conclude by sounding the great invocation, directing the triple energies through the triangles network and throughout the consciousness of humanity. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into human minds. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into human hearts. May the coming one return to earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide all little human wills, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center, which we call the human race, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. Oh. Thank you very much for your participation, and thanks, Aisha, again for your contribution. There are a few announcements which you see on your screen. First of all, there is the Visak Festival Full Moon Meditation meetings, which are observed in all three centers, Geneva, London, and New York, on Tuesday, April 23rd. Then there is the Arcane School Conference, which will start in New York, April 2021, followed by Geneva in May 18 and 19, and London, May 25, 26. And of course, we have the Goodwill Meditation Group webinar. The next one will be on Wednesday, April 24th. And finally, the next Triangles Meditation webinar, for which you're all invited, will be on Monday, May 13th. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.